friends, it's Pam with Silver and Sparkles, and I am super excited about our tutorial today. This is something I've kept a secret, but I've been working on for a while. It was hard not to tell you guys what I was working on. I have been wanting to do a Lapbook journal and do something a little bit different, hopefully, than other people have done. And I know a lot of us love to work with little golden books. And so I decided to design a lap book using little golden books. So this is what it looks like on the outside. And I did some Bugs Bunny. I loved Bugs Bunny as a kid. So Tweety Bird was my favorite. I used these. Let me show you how it opens. It opens like this. And so then on the left-hand side, we have a whole other little golden book here. This one is Bugs Bunny, Too Many Carrots. Pretty pages. I haven't really decorated or anything or added pockets. I've just assembled it because that's what I'm focused on for this tutorial. And then for this one, it's over here on this side. So I went back and forth about the design and decided that I am okay when you open it up having the back cover here. I liked having it look like you know, a cover and a back. And so anyway, I hope you guys like it too. I hope you like what I did and this is something you would be interested in. The design of this is certainly, you could translate it to other types of journals. The measurements and everything will be for a standard little golden book, but if you are interested in lap books, this might give you some ideas and things that you might be able to use. Okay, so we are going to get started. What I did want to show you is the measurements. So a lot of times when I make a little golden book, I love preserving the gold spine. So mine look like this. A lot of times I do a 2-inch spine, 5 signatures. This is kind of my standard design. This one isn't decorated yet either. Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny. I don't know, I guess I've been on a Bugs Bunny kick lately. So there you have it, and it's a 2-inch spine. This one, I basically wanted the 2-inch spine to hold both journals. So the actual books have a 1-inch spine. So if you've watched my videos on how to make one like this, it's very similar, but the measurements are a little different, and then how we are going to attach it to make it into a lap book. So I did want to just point that out. I have videos on how to do this from beginning to end, and I even started a playlist that's little golden book journals. If you want to go over to my, into my channel and look at that, you can see everything I've done with little golden books there on YouTube. So just a couple of thoughts for you if you're interested in the standard one. Now, basically what happens with these is we make 2. Here we go. Look, the Aristocats is what we're going to work with today. We're going to make 2 journals that have 1-inch spines, and then we're going to attach it with a 2-inch spine. So again, the idea of how we go about it is very similar, but the measurements are different. And if you're new or you haven't made a little golden book journal in this way before, it'll have some new information for you. So I'm going to set this aside. I'll set it right here with the other Bugs Bunny. So I went ahead and made one of them because everything I do, we're going to make one using 101 Dalmatians. I thought these two would be fun in a lap book together. 2 of my favorite Disney stories. So I already did Aristocats just so that it would be ready. We're going to do 101 Dalmatians, and you're just going to repeat it for your second journal. All right, so this is just going to save us some time off camera, and this is what it's going to look like when we're finished. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take our little golden book journal apart. Now, there's, different people do it different ways. I have a way I do it, and sometimes it works great, and sometimes I struggle. So we're going to hopefully do okay with 101 Dalmatians. So what I do is I open it up, and I just take my bone folder, and I just gently start working it in here, and you can find where the staple is And once you find where that staple is, I don't know if you guys saw, I just pushed it in and I start turning and the staple starts to pull apart. Now, I know this can be very scary, especially the first time you do it. And sometimes they're not, like, see how this staple is here? You would have thought this other staple would be here. It's not. It's down here. I don't know why sometimes they're not even. Again, I know this can be a little scary because you don't want to tear your book up. It is fixable, and like this part here, you can see where it's tearing a little bit. You're not going to see that part anyway. That is going to get covered up with how we attach it. So you certainly don't want it to tear through or, you know, damage it greatly, but it's okay if a little bit is happening there. It'll be okay. All right. Now, this one, the staples are quite rusty. So it's a good thing I got a tetanus booster shot recently, huh? Yeah, just be careful. Be careful not to poke yourselves, and just kind of work with it, and it will start to come apart. Now, this one, the gold sticker is holding together pretty well, which is nice, and we're going to slice it in half here in a minute. But a lot of times this does not happen. The staple does not always come up like that and out. I love it when that happens. Yay! Because now I don't have to try to press the staple down. Let's see what this one's doing over here. This one, I was able to pull this one out too. So yay, we had a good outcome. Now, when that doesn't happen, I just flatten the staple the best I can right along here, get it super flat, and just leave it there. You don't even notice that it's there. This one, the staples are here, and you don't even notice, okay? You cannot tell that I left that staple in there. This is where it was. You can kind of tell on the golden spine, but that's just the wear and tear of these older little golden books. Another thing you can do if you have a collection of little golden books, you know, you could practice this maybe on one that isn't your most favorite one before you get started. I know not everyone has a huge collection of the little golden books, but it's a thought if you're particularly anxious about it. Okay, and I know the first time I did one, I was very scared. Okay, this one, again, some of the sticker stuck to these pages, so I just used my X-Acto knife and try to be as careful as I can. This is like a foil kind of sticker, and it does lend itself to just being folded over. Depending on how much you have, like here, I'm going to add a touch of glue just to help hold it over. And if you have, you know, a significant amount, you know, you may want to glue the whole piece down. But that looks pretty good to me. And again, this little piece right here is going to be covered up with how I attach the spine. And this side didn't really have much sticker left at all, but it looks great from the front, and we're okay. Okay, so there we have those two torn apart. Now you have your pages, and you have a few options with the pages. The way the pages come apart, they're already a double sheet. Now, oftentimes when I make these, I'm making it for a junk journal. I am not making it to read the story. I know a lot of people like to preserve the story in order. I have a video, and it's in that playlist, and I'll try to remember to link this specific one for you, that shows you how to keep the pages in order. And basically what you do is you need to number them so you can keep them in order. The pages aren't numbered, and I don't think I've seen a little golden book with the pages numbered. But you will slice every page apart, and then you will kind of build a page or put a hinge and a page with it, and then you can keep them in order as you sew them into your different signatures. I'm not going to do that today. I didn't do it with this one. I have the first page in order, but as you go through, the story gets out of order, and I'm okay with that. I want it to be a junk journal. It's mostly, for me, it's for the images, not reading through to read the story. Again, it's a personal preference. Sometimes I do that, and depending on who I'm making the journal for. I did a whole series of Christmas little golden book journals this last December and sold them in November and December, and I kept all the pages in order because I was selling them, you know, to folks that wanted the story. But again, you decide how you want to do that. I'm not going to do that for this one. I am going to use the pages out of order. And I'm okay. So if you're freaking out, just go with it, please. All right. So we're going to have 3 signatures, and that means 2 of these double pages will be in each signature because there are 2, 4, 6 of them. Now, again, in my other, with the 5 signature journal, I spread them out. So, and one signature ends up with 2, and all the others have 1 with the regular pages. Again, you can spread them out however you want. You could just keep them all together and make them like their own little signature, and you have the story in the middle of your junk journal. That's an idea. So I've already gotten some pages together for signatures that I want to have 5 total in each signature. So I'm counting this as 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. And then, so that'll be 10 pages. So 30 pages for each journal, 60 for the Lapbook, if you followed my math. All right, so now it's just deciding what order you want your pages in, and I've already folded mine, and I'm using a variety of vintage book page, copy paper, ledger paper, just a variety of different things. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get all of these ready. We could have actually done this in a little while, but that's okay. We're doing it now. The reason I said that is we're going to get our spine covered and attached to the book, and sometimes it helps for it to sit a little bit, but it'll be okay. I'm just going with it. Okay, again, just put your pages in whatever order makes you happy. I'm gonna do this one like this and put this one to be in the middle. And you can, again, just use whatever papers you have. You could use scrapbook paper. You, again, like me, book page, copy dyed paper, things like that. You could use digitals. There's an Edith Holden page. So whatever strikes your fancy. And I'm kind of just doing them in a different order just to make each signature a little unique and different. There we go. And I am going to clip them all together, and we're going to set them aside for a few minutes and use them in a little bit. All right, so now I know I have all the pages from the book. They're safe. I'm going to set them aside, and don't need all of these paper clips. All right, to make the spine for this journal, I'm going to have all of the measurements for you in the description, but I will tell you as we go what we're using. So you need some piece of chipboard, and this is going to get covered with some cardstock. So, you know, you don't want it to be flimsy. It doesn't have to be like bookboard because you also want it to be able to bend. So this is the chipboard I'm using. If you want to see some of the supplies that I use, I have an Amazon storefront. It's linked in the description of all my videos, and you can go there and find the chipboard that I use. I buy it on Amazon. All right, so you need a piece of chipboard that measures 4.5 inches and then 7 by 7/8. And if you ask why 7 by 7/8, a standard little golden book is 7 7/8 in height. okay? So that is why you're going to hear that measurement a lot as we work with the little golden books, okay? So 4.5 by 7 7/8. Then you also need 2 pieces of decorative paper. This smaller one measures 4.25 by 7 7/8. This is going to be the outside, believe it or not, the outside of the spine. The larger piece ends up being the inside of the spine, and it measures 9 inches by 5.5. And like I said, I will put all this in the description for you. So the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of scoring. So you can, whatever your scoring method is, get your scoreboard out, your ruler, whatever you're going to use. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to score this chipboard. And we're going to score it on the 4.5 inch side at 1 3/4 inches. I'm going to do it twice. And then at 2 3/4 inches. This is going to make a 1 inch spine. I don't know if you guys can see that. So we're going to fold this, crease it. Again, mine is even. You just want to make sure it's even. And that is going to be our 1 inch spine for our journal. Right there. Okay, set that aside. Now, take your larger piece, the piece that measures 9 by 5.5. And this one we are going to score on the 5.5 inch side at 2 1/4. I could have scored with that, but I prefer this one when I'm using my scoreboard. 2 1/4 and at 3 1/4. Now, be gentle. Like this is just a digital that I printed out, and this paper is not as, thick as that chipboard, so I didn't press down too hard. And I'm not doing a super hard crease on this because actually this one goes this way. This is the inside. So this is going to be the inside of our journal spine, and we're going to wrap the paper around this in just a minute. This is the outside of our spine. So grab your piece of paper that measures 4 1/4 by 7 7/8. And we are going to score this at 1 5/8. So on my scoreboard, that is the little mark past 1.5. 1 5/8. Again, I'm being gentle. And then I'm doing 2 5/8 because this is now going to be the outside of my spine. And again, I'm not using my bone folder. I'm not doing a super hard crease. I'm just getting it happy being folded that way. Okay, you can put your scoreboard up for now. Okay, now we are going to wrap this. And like I said, you kind of want to just hold your paper. This is the inside of your spine, so it needs to be folded up this way, not the opposite way. We have our spine. It's all happy together. So I turn it over, and then I realize I have to put my adhesive on the inside. So it's going to live with the paper like this. I flip it over, and then I flip this one over because I'm going to add 2-sided tape to it. And I just hope that made sense and you guys could visually see which side I'm doing. If you do it on the wrong side, that's okay. You'll just have to rework, your folds and everything, and you'll be able to manage. Okay, so I'm just using 2-sided tape to hold this together, or to stick this down. I'm going to also use some glue. I like using both adhesives. I feel like it will allow the wet glue will allow me a little bit of wiggle room when I go to stick this down. And then the tape is just a little extra enforcement. I don't like when the paper that cover my spines, if you don't get good adhesive here, you get a little bit of a bubble look, even though I'm gonna then sew signatures to it. So I would rather just be generous with my tape and not have to worry about that happening. So in the section that is the spine, I put enough tape here to really just butt it up to each other. This is 1/2 inch tape, so two strips fit right in there. And of course I could put another strip here. I'm just going to use wet white glue. This part, it doesn't tend to bubble, and it does okay. So, but you can put another strip if you want to. All right, I'm just burnishing that tape really well to our chipboard, and now we're going to lift the tape up and then add some glue. So I'll take a moment while I'm doing this. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming back and watching my videos. If you like the content, if you like this project, please leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up. Super helpful for creators like me to have that kind of interaction. We're now going to add glue on top of the tape and in between the parts where there aren't any tape. If you're new to my channel, welcome. So glad you're here. I hope you find some inspiration. You'll check out my other projects and also consider subscribing. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Okay, so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'll show you in a minute the glue that I'm using. This is the Line Co. brand PVA glue. It's actually, I think, for bookmaking, but it's kind of my everyday craft glue these days. I have others like art glitter glue that I love, but this one gives me a little more wiggle room, and it's also a touch more affordable for me, a little bit less expensive. Okay, so here's where you've got to be very careful. You want to lay this down so that these score marks are lined up with these score marks. And so this is where the wet white glue is helpful, because like I've got mine laid down, but I can smidge it around just a touch if I need to. But mine went down nice and easy today. All right. So then I just gently make sure that glue is getting spread out and everything's happy together. And you can see some of my glue squirting out, and that's okay. All right, yay. We're going to wrap this. So I'm going to use my little tool here. I've shown you guys this before. This is just to help miter these corners, and it leaves 1/8 of an inch so that I don't have to worry that I'm too close or I leave too much bulk. You can just take your scissors and cut. You could measure and draw a line if you're, if you're worried about it, but you don't want to be too close, because then the chipboard will show through when you wrap. The corner won't be neat. But you also don't want, to cut it off up here and have too much bulk. So this tool is awesome. I love it. Again, it's in my Amazon storefront if you guys want to take a look. But it is not a necessity. You can certainly do this project without that. Okay, I like to take my bone folder and just do a quick score to help crease that paper right on each edge, just like that. And now these we're gonna just fold up. It's like wrapping a package. So I go ahead and get all of mine, creased nicely and ready to go. And then we'll do one side at a time. And I've shown you guys how to wrap spines like this before if you've watched those videos, but I'll show you the trick for these corners to help make them neat. Now, you can definitely lay down a piece of tape and then glue. I'm just gonna use the glue. Oh, let me show you my glue. Here's the glue if you're new and to see what I'm using. So it's a PVA Lineco brand, ideal for bookbinding and paper projects. So that's what I use most of the time. And I put it in these little bottles. All right, I'm just going to use this for just to be a little bit speedy, and it will hold it just fine. It's not a huge section anyway. So we're going to just lay that over. I will say sometimes chipboard, it's like you just have to really get that glue to stick to it. Sometimes, I don't know, it almost repels it a little bit before it becomes absorbent. Okay, the corner method. You just take your bone folder or something and just kind of nudge the paper over just a touch. Then when you fold it up, you get this really nice corner. And it works for me. A lot of times if I don't do that, I get that little pointy looking piece of paper on there, and I don't like that. So that is my little corner trick. And I saw someone do it. I can't remember who, but a long time ago, and I've been doing it since. So thank you, whoever that is. Nudging it over, folding it down. And we're going to do this on all the sides. When we get to this next one, we'll have to nudge both corners because it's our last corner, or our last side. So we're going to nudge this one over just a bit, this one over just a bit. Make sure they look good, and glue it down. Okay. There we go. Nice. All right, now again, this was and so see how this is now going to be the inside spine, and it's all happy living together. Everything looks nice and creased. All right, now we're going to cover what's going to be the outside, which is this piece. And guess what? We're going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to add glue and then line up the crease marks for the spine from this paper here and here. Now this piece is the same height as the chipboard. So really all you have to worry about is getting these lines lined up and this all the way at the bottom or the top. And again, you can use your tape. I'm gonna, mostly for time's sake, we're just gonna use this glue right now. And I think it will be okay. If you're worried, use your tape. I sometimes use my tape. Sometimes I just do this. It depends on the mood I'm in. But on this one for the spine, I definitely do that. Okay. Get lots of glue in the part that's the spine. All right. And again, I know it's hard for you guys to see because I'm not inking on this project, but you just get it lined up. Lay it down, and then I like to, before I super press everything down, I like to kind of bend it a little and make sure it's where I want it to be. And then, I don't know if you guys can see, I use the corner of my craft desk to wrap it around and just really, really make sure it's all pushed down nice and neat. Okay? Love it. So happy with it. Okay. And if you have something like this happening, just work with it. This is where using the wet glue gives you a moment to fix it. If that starts happening to yours, like it did mine, it just buckled up just a touch there. Okay, it looks great. Now we're gonna let this, no, we're not going to let it dry because now we're going to attach it to this one, and then we'll let it dry just a touch. So this is where I'm definitely going to use tape and glue. We're going to add tape to both of these sides because then the cover is going to be attached like this, just like this. Okay, so get that tape back out. And again, I hope you guys can see, I tend to use the edge of my desk just because I find it easier for me to work with the spine. You know, I don't necessarily want to flatten it back out. Ooh. Would help if I didn't do that to my tape. So the important thing to remember is you're only putting tape on the 2 flaps, not on that 1-inch spine. So don't forget and accidentally put tape here. You do not want tape there. And again, I'm doing 2 strips on each. You can do 3, but I'm going to add a generous amount of glue and it's going to be okay. All right. Whoa. Now, carefully get that off of there. Again, you may want to burnish that tape, make sure it's stuck down really good. Okay. So, this is how it's going to attach. So we're going to hold it by one of the sides. I'm going to do the front cover first. And sometimes I can peel these up really easily and sometimes I can't. Okay, glue, everybody. Lots of glue so that I have that, especially so I have the wiggleness factor, because you want this on as nice and straight as you can. You really do. Okay. And lots of glue where there's no tape. All right. I pick up my cover and I honestly just kind of try to find, you know, get it lined up. And then with that glue, again, I have enough of a wiggle room that I can get this edge lined up where the fold is really nice. And then I just really start pushing it down. And you've got all this thickness here. So you've really got to push, push, push. And when I get the back on, we're going to then use some binder clips and hold it together for a few minutes. And you may have a little bit of glue that's coming out. That's okay. Just push, push, push and get it on there nice and sturdy if you can. All right. Now we are going to repeat the process for the back cover. So pulling the tape off, and then we're going to glue it down. Okay, so leave me a comment. Let me know if you've ever made a little golden book journal and maybe what your favorite little golden book is. And, you know, oh, I was going to tell you too, one thing that I did recently, I haven't shown you guys, maybe we'll do one, is I have some, my husband went crazy a couple years ago. In a good way. But I was really, you know, into the little golden books. And so he got me some lots of little golden books. So some locally and some like on eBay. And so there are some that are not my favorites. Okay, so again, we are going to line it up right along the edge and just start pushing it down. Okay. And I'm talking about, like, there was like, I don't know, I'm probably not going to make a junk journal out of a Marvel little golden book from 2020. It's just kind of not my vibe. So these boards are awesome to make other journals out of. So like I covered one and made a beautiful journal, but you know, with this type of spine, I think I did the 2-inch on it. But, you know, if you end up with some that aren't your favorites, they're good to practice on or to make other journals out of. And I don't know. Oh, I think because I was saying what's your favorite one. That was kind of where that question came from. So, like I said, and I wouldn't use some of my favorites or my vintage ones or whatever, but there are some out there that kind of I just ended up in my collection that I'm like, I'm probably not ever going to make a junk journal out of that. Okay, look at that. Okay, so binder clip time. Oh. And I'm going to put them on like this. and we're gonna let this sit for just a few minutes. A lot of times I'll let mine sit overnight or for a few hours, depending on what I'm doing. This one, we're going to, it's gonna be okay, because we're going to work on the other spine while this one rests. And by the other spine, what I mean is we have to make this spine, and then it gets attached to the journals to make the Lapbook, to hook them together. So while this is sitting and resting a moment, we're gonna do that. And it's the same process, just different measurements as covering the spine we just did. So you need a piece of chipboard, and this one needs to measure that 7 7/8, and this one is 5 1/2 inches. All right, so 5 1/2 inches wide, 7 7/8. We are going to score this one at 1 3/4 inches, and then at 3 3/4 inches. And what you're going to notice, hopefully immediately, is that now we have one that is going to have a 2-inch spine, so that our 1-inch journals will fold up in here for the Lapbook. Okay? All right, I will have the measurements again in the description for you. This is the outside paper. I decided to use the same paper, but the smaller piece is going to be the outside of your journal. So when you're picking out your papers, just remember that the smaller one is. This one measures 5 1/4 inches by 7 7/8. We are going to score at 1 5/8, and we are going to score at 3 5/8. And this is the outside. So we're going to fold it this way. And that's going to be our outside spine for our Lapbook. And then for the inside of the spine, we have a piece that measures 6 1/2 by 9 inches. Okay, 9 inches. This one we are going to score at 2 1/4. And we are going to score at 4 1/4 inches. And this is going to be the inside. So we're going to fold this one this way. All right. So again, same process, just different measurements. So this may help. Again, adult learners, I find I sometimes like or need to see things multiple times. So you can always rewind the video, but then this is going to show you this process again. All right, this is going to be the inside of the spine. So you get the chipboard, get your paper, get everything happy together, flip it over, and then flip your chipboard over, and you know this is the side you need your adhesive. All right, so here we go again, laying down tape. And this is where, when I'm making videos, I'm always like, okay, what should I talk about? You can watch me do this. You are welcome to fast forward if you don't want to see me do this again. I still, if you've been with me for a while, you know this is not my strong suit, is video editing. So I still have not learned how to do that, and like how to fast forward the video. And I keep thinking, well, maybe I'll take an online class or try to watch videos and get video editing equipment. And then I'm like, I would rather make something. And then I don't do it. So if that bothers you, use your fast forward button. And then come back and join us after I've laid down all the tape, or even after I've wrapped this piece if you don't want to see it a second time. All right, this is a wider spine. I made sure I put some extra tape on that section. And I'll make sure, if you see where I didn't quite come to the end, you know that I put plenty of glue And this one is the one we're wrapping, so it's going to be like a little package anyway. So there we go. All right, lift up your tape. So it is now February in the United States, and today we woke up to, it was really kind of strange because it stayed super dark because we were having a storm, and it was cold enough that the storm was coming in as ice and sleet, but we were also having thunder. So it was like, it was just kind of very strange. And then it did change over to just rain, and now the sun is pretty much out, so that's nice. But I keep talking about how I'm ready for it not to be cold. All right, we're going to be very generous, like I said, with our glue to make sure the parts that don't have tape, in particular, don't buckle up on us. All right, it would be nice if I wouldn't glue my desk, wouldn't it? Okay. When I'm not on camera, I don't feel the same sense of urgency to move through parts that aren't as interesting. But I will say, you know, you don't want to dilly-dally when you're laying your glue down. I mean, you've got a little bit of time, but you certainly don't want it to start drying on you. All right, same thing. We're going to lay this down, line up those scores, and try to center it top to bottom. There we go. All right, yay. Let's spread out. Make sure it's happy folding up some. Yep, we're looking good. Okay, miter the corners. I need to clean this too. Get my get the goop off of it. Okay. Doing the 4 corners. So again, same process, because I really in this video want to attach the journals. So again, this one might be a little bit longer, but instead of trying to do it in 2 parts, I just thought that would be easier, which again explains why I felt the need to make one journal off camera, right? All right, here we go. All right, folding it up. I could have probably had one of these already covered, but didn't think about that. I try to be prepared, you guys. And I have made quite a few of these, so they don't take me that long, especially when I have my papers prepped and everything. Moves pretty quick. Deciding on papers for the signature. Sometimes I spend more time doing that. Isn't that funny? But I had actually put multiple, I don't know if you want to call them kits, but I was, I wouldn't say I was mass making little golden book journals, because I don't like to mass make journals. I like them to be, you know, unique and different. But I was making several for the holidays, and so while I had all my books out and was choosing, you know, the vintage book page to add in, and coffee dyeing paper, all of that, I went ahead and just made some sets that are the right size for little golden book journals, so that when I was ready to make one, I would just have some in my stash. So I actually had enough for the sample lapbook I made and this one. So that was kind of nice. Okay, now we're going to lay this piece down here, and it's going to look fabulous. Because this is so wide, I'm going to add a little tape just to make sure. And there no signatures or anything gets sewn into this one. This one is just the one that attaches the 2 books together. All right. And of course, this is just for the paper to stick on here. It's not doing any of the attaching. Not yet. We'll have more tape for that here in a minute. Okay. glue, and I feel like my glue is starting to get a little low, and I hope I don't have to fill this when we're on camera. I just stuck my sweater to the tape, so the tape has some lovely burgundy sweater in it. Okay, lots of glue, lots of glue, lots of glue. Sometimes I will write little messages with my glue, like "you are loved," or "you can do hard things," or "joy," "love," whatever. Today I just scribbled. Okay, line up the score marks and bring it all the way to the top or the bottom, you know, or the top and the bottom, I guess. And then start pressing it down. Make sure it's happy. There we go. It's looking great. I love these polka dots. I just think they're so fun. I just got glue on it. I'm gonna mess it up. Okay. Happiness. Yes. All right. We are going to also let this one sit for a few minutes, while we head back over to our journal. Okay. Now, we have to sew the signatures in, and I do find it easier to sew these in before I attach the journal. So let's talk about that. This one, of course, is already finished. I am going to show you the process. We'll sew one of the journals in, or one of the signatures in, and then probably attach everything, and I'll sew the rest in, even though it'll be a little more challenging off camera. And this kind of, let me show you, once you've got it attached, I mean, you obviously could sew signatures in once it's attached with this spine, but it's probably easier to sew all of your signatures in. That's what I did with this one, and then I attached them. But again, for time's sake, let's just, let's see how far we get. So I make a template that is the same width as my spine and the same height. So I know my spine is 1 inch by 7 7/8. So this is just a piece of copy paper. Then what I did was I folded it in half and in half again. And I just drew lines to show you where those are. Okay? Because this is 1, 2, 3 signatures. Then I folded this paper in half and then just kind of picked a place to fold it in half, or fold it down, because we're doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3 holes across each signature. So where those dots are, and this is, I'm using the same one so that everything will line up the same with the 2 journals. You want to use the same one for both. But I'm just showing you, if you need to make one, that's how you make it. And then I tend to, you know, draw the lines and everything so that you guys can see it. Then you just line it up, and you want to just make sure it is in between, you know, the crease lines. It is literally in your spine. You don't want it to be over one way or the other. And you need a piercing tool. This is my paper piercing tool that I like to use. And for each of those little dots that I drew, we've got to poke a hole so that we have our holes for our signature. So I hold this very securely, and I don't try to push it all the way through. I just make a tiny prick at each one, and then we'll push it through here in a minute. And I keep everything very carefully held down. It's a little easier when the spine's a little wider. You have a little more paper to hold on to, but it can be done. Now we are just going to push the paper piercer through each hole, and we'll be able to start sewing. Okay. Now, we can't start sewing until we poke holes in these. So to poke the holes in the signature, we're going to use the same template. Oh, and put a T at the top. You always want to keep the top of your template for the top of the journal and the top of the signature so that everything matches. If you flip it this way, even though it appears to be the same, it just doesn't work. Just trust me. I still haven't really figured out the mechanics of that. Now, you can do this and fold it in and get it right there in the center. And then hold it with your finger. And again, just make a prick at each hole. And then you're going to be able to punch your holes. And there we go. Okay? And you're going to do this for each signature. All right, I'll go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and do it. We'll show you again. So get to the center of your signature. It's very important. You line it up neatly, top to bottom. You get right in that crease. 1, 2, 3. And you're going to be able to poke your holes. All right, it's looking good. And you want to keep your signatures in whatever order you wanted them in. Remember your top to bottom, everything's lined up. And you can set your template aside. Now, like I said, everything we're doing, you're gonna have to make 2 of these. 2 journals. So save the template, use the same one, because you want, when you put your Lapbook together, you want this lined up the same. You don't want this one to be down a touch or a little bit, you know, to be different. If you made 2 templates, it could easily end up different and it won't look as finished. Okay, I am using some wax thread, and 1, 2, 3. I do three times the height of my journal. That gives me plenty to work with if I want to tie a bow, if I want to tie on some beads, dangles, whatever. But it also just makes it a little bit easier to sew. You could get away with a little bit shorter length, but you know, that's up to you if you're worried about that. I would rather use a little extra and make it a little bit easier for myself to sew. Okay, and you need a big-eyed needle. And again, I have shown you guys this many times in different videos, but if you're new, you may not have seen it. If you've already seen me do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, again, feel free to use your fast forward button. And I know I mentioned that, and then I'll have many of you comment, oh, we don't mind, we like watching, or we like hearing you chat. And I appreciate you guys for saying that. You are so sweet. But there are some people that get frustrated, so I just like to remind you. Okay, for a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, thread your needle. If you don't have waxed thread, you can use floss, other string. You know, you can decide, like embroidery floss, something like that. We are going to start the inside center hole. And I sew the first signature in, so it's the holes left to right. So we're starting on the far left, and we'll go in the center hole inside, and we're going to push this through and out the back. This is why you want to make sure your glue has set. you gave it enough time. I'm going to be very, very gentle with mine because it didn't get it, you know, to sit for very long. Okay, you don't want to pull this all the way through. Just make sure you leave a long enough tail, and that's kind of what I mean about easier to sew. I'm going to go up to the top hole that lines up on that far left. Put my needle through, find my hole in my signatures, and we're going to come back up into the inside. Okay, and I usually just make sure it looks right. Now we're going to skip the center hole and come in through the bottom hole. And I tend to go through the signature first and then make sure I'm selecting the correct hole. And pull it up through. Now we are going to go right back through that same center hole and we are going to come up through the hole in the signature. Just like that. Okay. I'm gonna flip it around the correct way. All right, now here's the thing, and I tell you this, like in mine, it's not right yet. So you have this string here. You want one tail to the right and one tail to the left, both underneath this string, because we're gonna tie a knot after we check everything looks good. You want it snug, but not too hard. And we're gonna tie a knot, and we're going to do it again, and then I'm going to switch hands, and then we're going to tie another knot. I don't know what I just did there, but it's okay. Okay, and we have a signature sewn in. Now you're going to repeat that process 2 more times and sew your other signatures right in next to it. You'll start on this hole, sew it in, and this hole and sew it in. I'm not going to do that on camera right now. I will finish it later, I promise. I'm going to set those aside because I want to show you how to assemble the journal. Okay, and I don't want it to get too long. So this is our spine. And so you do want to decide which journal do you want to be your outside cover. So like on this one, I picked Bugs Bunny and the Health Hog. And then when I open it up, you see Bugs Bunny, Too Many Carrots. Okay, so whichever one we choose, you know, you'll see on the outside, and the other one first thing on the inside. I'm going to have the Dalmatians be on the outside just because I can't, it's hard for me to make up my mind, and I'm just going to do it. So this is going to get attached to the front of the Dalmatians cover. And then I always kind of play with this to make sure I know what I'm doing. And then the Aristocats, it's going to go on their back cover. So then when we open this up, ta-da, there's be your Aristocats. All right, so set those aside for a second. We need to put tape on the outside of both of these flaps, not on the spine. Don't get confused and put it on the spine. And this is what's holding your whole lap book together. So I am going to be generous with my tape and with my glue. I'm going to do 3 strips of tape on both flaps, just like this. And then we will burnish it down, and the process is very similar to doing the spines on the journal. We just have to make sure we place them on the right parts of the books. So I'll show you that all again, and we will do it together. Okay. So let's just get this pressed down really good. And you want the tape not on the part that's going to be inside because there's nothing for it to stick to. All right. Ooh, don't need that. Okay. So I decided the Dalmatians are going to be on the front. So this spine is going to go on the front cover just like that. All right. So let's remove our tape. And again, I don't have any direction, to my paper. I don't have to worry about that. If you do, make sure you have your spine turned the way you want it before you get started. All right, and then glue, so we get our wiggle room and extra adhesive. If you don't add this over the tape, as soon as that tape touches you're done. You cannot move it or wiggle it at all. You guys probably know that, but I figured I'd say it again. Okay. All right. We have to get this lined up right with that fold and see how it allows me to wiggle just a little, which is good. And we're gonna get that pressed down. Ah, that was a flip, wasn't it? All right, glue's coming out, but that's okay. Wipe it off, keep on moving. I don't have any wipes over here. I have some on my other desk, but baby wipes are great for things like that. All right, and again, I'm gonna clip with the binder clip here in a minute to really make sure this gets held on nicely. Okay, so before I remove the tape, let's remind ourselves what we're doing here. This one is going to get attached on the back cover. And it's going to go like this. And of course it looks funky right now because I haven't sewn in the other signatures, but everything is the way it's supposed to be. Nothing is upside down. We're good. Okay. So back cover stuck this way, and it's going to look like this. Okay, to the back cover. All right, and you just have to kind of find a way to hold it that works for you. I'm going to do mine this way. And that tape decided to pick up just a little bit, but that's all right. I pushed it back down, and I'm going to add glue. And we're almost done, guys. Again, if you stayed with me this long, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I hope this is something that you guys can get excited about too. And we'll try to make one. I know it seems a little involved, but the end product is so much fun to have. All right, here we go. Back cover right up to that crease. Get it where you want it, top to bottom. And we're gonna push it down. That one needs to go that way. This one can go this way. There we go. Ah, so excited. I am really excited about this one. These are two of my most favorite Disney books and movies. So how fun is that? Look how cute. And then it opens up like this and like this. Fun, right? Okay. I will, oh, let me show you how we're going to put the clamp on it. You just want to give it some more time and let it rest a little. And then I will sew the rest of my signatures in. And this one will be happy. I've got magnets that are attaching to my binder clips and causing me issues. All right, binder clip. You can kind of see it, help it push down. And I may even go back and put some on those and let it sit. Let it sit and become happy before I start futzing with it to get our signature sewn in. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this and that you will let me know. Let me know. You guys try it for yourselves, okay? Everybody, until next time, thank you and have a great day.